Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week again, another episode of AutoCentral, South Africa's #1 motoring podcast. And I'm, as usual, your host, George Mienie, and I'm joined, as usual, by none other than Wandile Sishi. How's it, Wandi?
Not too bad, George. It's a good day, so, let's talk about cars.
Let's talk about something car-related or cars. So, just a reminder, where can we find AutoCentral?
Every Monday, 9 a.m., we are streaming live on cliffcentral.com. But if you want to see our faces, we're also on the AutoTrader SA YouTube channel. And that's also going to be simulcast at 9 a.m. every Monday. But if you want some convenience or listen to us whenever you'd like, we're also streaming on Spotify as well as iTunes at your convenience.
Lovely stuff. So you can find us everywhere. If you want to see our faces, AutoTrader SA on YouTube. If you just want to listen in the comfort of your car, you can find us everywhere else. And, our podcast is ad-free.
It is ad-free, yeah.
It's ad-free. So we, you won't be subject to any adverts during our podcast. So you can have half an hour of uninterrupted motoring.
That's correct.
So getting right into it, today's episode we've something special, and we'll kick off with an important question.
What's that question?
And that question is, should OEMs retrofit EVs and the technology in them in established models or produce bespoke new electric vehicles? And then later on in the episode, we review an actual retrofitted EV. Well, as a matter of fact...
There it is, yeah.
There it is.
It's
the
stunning.
2021 or 2020, it's retrofitted, so I'm not sure which one it is, VW Golf. And then lastly, we'll obviously answer some of your burning questions from our Ask AutoTrader segment or platform. So, pimping for EVs, I suppose this is called. Should OEMs retrofit EVs or build it from scratch? And I mean, just to kick off this particular VW Golf EV, I've been driving it now for a couple of days.
I'm so jealous. I can't imagine what it's like.
I love EVs. I can't tell you. I'm in love. You're going to probably see a photo of me on the bonnet of this thing just now, giving it some love. So from the fourth industrial revolution, Wendy, and is diesel dying? I think so. We spoke about that last time. And a full-blown EV ride. Yes, we've got hybrids. We've got all those things, hydrogen-powered vehicles. But let's be honest, the end game is EVs.
That is the end game. And this is it, right? So it begs the question, is this the way? Or are vehicles like the I-Pace the way? It's kind of a good question. I think it gives us new things to talk about and new things to kind of think about.
So there's two retrofitted EVs in South Africa, right? The Mini SE is retrofitted, and the Golf, the e-Golf is retrofitted. I mean, when I drive this car, when you get into it initially, it feels like another Golf.
And I think that's what people want, right?
Yeah,
it's familiar.
It's familiar. When I get into the I-Pace, I know it's an electric car.
Yeah.
Before I even turn it on, I know it's an electric car. Similarly with the BMW i3, I know it's an electric car. Although the thing that impresses me about the i3 is all of the panels
in the interior, or
the interior is all apparently what do you call it? Recyclable.
Okay.
That's
recycled.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah. So I believe. Should OEMs retrofit EVs into vehicles? Is it easier to retrofit?
So I think it's easier because there's less R&D because the platform's already there.
Well, the structure's there.
The structure's there, right? So it's less money would go into it. But I think it's not as simple as that. When you retrofit an EV, there's some things that you lose, such as what's called battery life or range, because it's not built for that.
It's not built for batteries.
Exactly, it's built for an engine. Whereas a vehicle like the I-Pace is completely being built from the ground up for the purpose of having range and all the challenges that come with EV vehicles. So that's one thing, but at the same time, it's a Golf. It's a car that everyone loves. It's something that there's no need to go and build a new brand. People are familiar with this idea and this model and what it stands for. So, you kind of have to take your pick.
Well, I mean, my experience with this car so far is, there's one thing that I think is evidence of a retrofit in this particular e-Golf. And that is because of the torque. I mean, let's be honest, EVs have the most amazing torque. This is, I think, a 36 kilowatt EV. The torque of this motor vehicle and the fact that it's retrofitted, I think, plays a part in it wanting to wheel spin all the time.
Okay. Because why? Because of it's not. Well, it just doesn't have the weight to kind of.
I don't know. I don't know. But what I find is, I mean, I've driven most of the other EVs in the market, the ground up versions.
Yeah.
I've not driven the Mini SE, so maybe the Mini SE will have the same challenge. Yeah. But this car, the front wheels want to break free, particularly when I corner.
Okay.
And I'm not, and I don't find myself, flooring it. It's very, very. It's very easy to want to use the loud pedal on this car, because it's fast. Yeah. All of them are fast. They're very quick off the mark. But I don't know. Does the center of gravity change?
I would assume so. There's definitely going to be some things that you just wouldn't have been able to kind of anticipate or predict when you retrofit, right? But they kind of test these things and they figure out. These are the kind of the benefits and the pros and cons, if you could say, of it. And I think that's definitely one of the cons.
Well, I mean, where is the battery situated in this e-Golf?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean,
well, it doesn't feel to me like the batteries are in the floorboard. And I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe we can ask Lawrence just now when he comes on.
Definitely.
Is where is the battery? Because that for me could be. I've just Googled it and there's no easy answer. But maybe that could be the center of gravity. Is when it's retrofitted, you can't exactly replace the floor with the battery, because the Tesla and a lot of other EVs, the floor and the low center of gravity is where the battery is situated, and maybe that causes the car not to want to slide around and break free.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that this is front wheel drive. Its motor is between the front wheels, so you've got a lot of torque being generated. Yeah. So for me, that is one of the signs of a retrofitted Golf.
Vehicle, yeah.
Other than that, this car is phenomenal. It is beautiful. It's they put the lights on it. It looks really good. But you wouldn't say that it's an e-Golf unless you really look at the badge.
Yeah, and the blue hues versus the red of the GTI. So I actually did some research on different nations who've tackled the idea of retrofitting and what's the benefits and challenges.
Tell us.
So in India, for instance, that's kind of one of the ways that they got people used to the idea. So there are these third-party companies where you can take your car and say, hey, just swap out everything and give me an electric motor.
Yeah.
Which you can imagine there are going to be some issues with that. You're going to lose your warranty. Your range won't be the best. It's not the OEM spec. But now you don't have to pay for gas, for instance, and you have an electric vehicle. And people are used to seeing them. And it's like, okay, this car is an EV. So it works in some nations, but once again, there's going to be some negatives that come with that idea.
Well, I suppose it's a good way to get
like buy-in
for the EV and quick traction by the OEM. But my concern would be is if you haven't created a product from the ground up that is so vastly different to its predecessor, you're gonna sit with some changes in design. And plus, do you lose the warranty
when you just go to
when you retrofit? I think you would.
I 100% think you would. Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's done, the retrofitting is done by the OEM.
By the OEM themselves.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
And what is the R&D involved in actually doing the retrofit versus just designing a car from the ground up?
When it's a third party, there's no R&D.
Yeah, obviously.
They kind of just swap out the internals and there it is.
Yeah.
There's your vehicle, take it, drive it off. Hopefully it works. But with an OEM, obviously they do those tests and they do those, the R&D and sort of the conversion of the vehicle. So
is it cheaper to retrofit?
Much cheaper.
Is it?
Much cheaper. That's the big
benefit.
By the third parties.
But the third party retrofit.
It's going to be a lot cheaper.
Do we know if there's any retrofit companies in South Africa?
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
Definitely do some research on that.
Yeah.
I would assume so. I mean, I would assume so. I'm sure somebody's thought about it.
Let's see.
There's probably some guy in around your neighborhood who might be doing this for
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sounds like a jacked up car in the corner.
Yeah.
You see this engine fall out of the bottom of the car.
Basically.
What are you doing? Retrofitting my car.
Yeah, no, it's such a weird concept, and I think it makes sense in the long run.
There is a company.
Like this. Yeah, well, there it is.
There's a company called.
It's a good idea.
I don't know if I'm going to put it out there because I don't know how reputable these guys are, but there definitely is. I just googled it, and there's EV retrofitting companies in South Africa.
There you have it.
So it's happening.
We should get them on. We should get them for one of the episodes and see,
It's a good idea. I like that
see
idea.
how it works, because it's a surefire way for people to get used to the idea. And people want to see a Golf or want to see an M3.
Yeah.
They love that idea, and South Africans are entrenched in familiarity. So, hey, could be the secret sauce.
Yeah, I reckon. Let's make a promise to our viewers that we would bring into the show a retrofit company that retrofits EVs. Maybe we can get a retrofit in here.
Maybe
parked behind me.
Maybe we could retrofit your car.
Are you mad?
That's my challenge. I was hoping you'd take it.
Retrofit no.
Almost got you.
No. Let's see. I'm not going to make any promises as to which is the first EV I'm going to drive, but I'm loving this car. I'm absolutely loving it. The one thing I did notice before we, get Lawrence in here, the one thing I did notice with this car as well is that it seems to be more silent. Is that even a term? More silent than the others in the following way. It's not that that the others have more road noise or anything. It's the I-Pace had this zing about it. So when you put your foot down or you put it in sports mode, there was a proper zing.
Like you feel the electricity just coursing through.
Well, you felt like you were in a spaceship.
Okay.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And this one is a lot more silent. You don't hear that zing, when you put your foot down. But again, it's a 36 kilowatt car, so it's not as powerful. So
and it's smaller, and there's less space for them to put all that power in it. But you're saying that it works, right? It works in the South African context.
So I suppose the question is to retrofit or not to retrofit. That is the question.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, let's take a short break, and we'll be back with Lawrence Minnie.
Sounds good.
All right, and we're back with our expert journalist, Lawrence Minnie. How's it going, Lawrence?
Always a pleasure to be back here. I got tired of being on Mars, decided to stop doing the Major Tom thing.
Lovely, love it. So just before you came on, we were talking about to retrofit or not to retrofit. That is the question. And should OEMs retrofit or should they build EVs from the ground up? And then Wandile and I try to do a quick Google around whether there's companies in South Africa that actually retrofit cars. And I believe there's some kind of legalities around retrofitting cars.
Yeah, but nothing's stopping you from doing it. You can retrofit your car if you want. Whether you're going to get it licensed and put on the road is a different story altogether.
Yeah.
I actually had a chat with a gentleman from Grid Cars. They were actually doing EV retrofits, and they were cease and desist. You cannot just take your Hyundai Tucson and drop the engine out, put an electric motor in it, slap some batteries in the back and hope that it all works out, because there is a safety thing involved.
Well, it's not just unsafe to you.
The car's not registered as an electric vehicle. So you have an accident, Metro comes along, and they spray water all over the thing, not knowing that it's
high voltage.
Yeah, it's got 38 kilowatts of battery power under the.
Well, I mean, you open up this one's bonnet, and there's just orange cables everywhere, and everybody knows those orange cables are high voltage. You can kill yourself.
Which is a surprising thing about this vehicle. It's the only electric vehicle that I have driven thus far where you can actually access the cables and the charging system.
I suppose it's because of the retrofit, right?
Pretty much, yes.
So, when I opened this car's bonnet, that was the first thing that struck me.
You see the water bottle.
If you opened this bonnet and you weren't the wiser, if you were,
you think it's just a normal engine.
You would think it's a normal engine. It just looks that way.
I actually opened it earlier and I was like, whoa, I thought there was just going to be an empty space here, but there it is.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of those compartments or bonnet boot sort of thing. What's that thing called? A voot? No.
A foot.
Is it a foot?
The
front boot.
The frunk, yes, that's the name of it. It's called a frunk. I've been looking for that word for days. The frunk. Okay, so you had your hands on this car as one of our expert journalists, Lawrence. Give us the lowdown. What I've given a couple of my pieces of a little bit of opinion on the things I've experienced so far for the last couple of days that I've been driving it. But you do this for a living. You're lucky enough to get into the latest and greatest cars, and so give us the lowdown. This is a VW Golf 7.5?
7.5, yes. So basically the outgoing model of Golf at the moment.
Okay.
Basically just taken the drivetrain out and replaced it with electric bits.
Who did this? VW themselves?
Yes,
in Germany?
Yes.
Okay.
So as we said...
So this is not some side of the road kind of drop your engine out story. This is the real deal.
No, this was made by VW. I think we mentioned that it is VW's little experiment just to sort of gauge what the local appetite for EV is. And I mean, I've driven...
How are they going to gauge what the appetite is if they're not selling this?
Well, this is why they've given the vehicle to all the major publications around the country on long term, live with the car, and then come back and tell us what it was like. Did you get stopped in the parking lot? Did you get stopped at the movies? Were people constantly asking you, what is this? What is this? What is
I pulled into a filling station this morning, and it's pretty cool because I pulled up next to the filling pump.
Yeah.
And the attendants came up to me,
thinking it's just a normal car.
Thought it's a normal car. They didn't even question.
Yeah.
They opened up the filler cap.
They're like, "Where's the?"
And that's where the confusion happened.
Yeah.
And I got out and I gave them a little bit of a tour of the car, and they were flabbergasted at it being an EV. I only had stopped there for coffee. I didn't stop there to get them to try and fill it with petrol.
It's interesting to see how people kind of react to, or not react, I guess, to this. And that's kind of the win of a retrofitted EV.
I've driven all the electric cars that are available in South Africa. SE, I-Pace, i3. And this one, to me, is probably the most accessible.
What do you mean accessible?
When you look at the i3, that's 1.8
you mean in terms of price?
It's so far out of my range. Even the cheapest one that we have for sale, the SE, is still 600,000 rand. It just seems so... And it's
but there's no price being given for this.
Exactly. But now this is the appeal of this vehicle to me, and why I think so highly of it is this is the everyman's electric car. This is the one that people look at and go, I can afford that. I want to buy that because that looks just like the car that I have had on my bedroom wall since I was 16. But it doesn't have a petrol engine.
Yeah.
And that's the appeal of the vehicle for me. That and the fact that it goes like stink.
Well, yeah, I suppose I've driven the 90 kilowatt version of an EV before this. So it goes like stink. Yeah, it goes like stink in its category. Yes, that I would agree with that. You put your foot down, and that loud pedal kind of puts the power onto the wheels.
But you've driven a GTI as well, right? So this is essentially an electric GTI.
Yeah.
So
is it as fast as a GTI?
No, it's never going to be that fast.
Have you tested it 0 to 100?
No. I was doing more of the freeway stuff to see what kind of range you were going to get. And I, from when I picked the vehicle up, it had 205 kilometers range, and after the few days I had it, I gave it back with 196. The car makes its own power while you're driving if you adjust your driving style just a little bit.
Well, I mean, we were talking before the show, and in driving this car, I've hardly changed my driving style. I've put the car. It's got it's the gear lever goes into B, which is regenerative mode, and it's probably the electric vehicle, the only electric vehicle that I've driven that has as good a regenerative system, or should I say the best regenerative system, because like you say, you can actually drive down to the shops and back and not have used a single bit of power because of the regeneration.
Yeah, and all that it takes is just stop using the brake pedal.
Yeah,
let the car do the work, and the car will. And it's it just makes me sad that we're not getting this.
Yeah,
but it is.
But we might. It depends on the
door. It's a door opening. VW saying, okay, yes, well, not the retrofitted ones, the ones that we've actually been working on in the factory.
Yeah. ID3 and
ID4. Well, I don't know about ID3. We're definitely getting ID4, but only in a few years' time.
Yes. Well, I mean, you never know. Maybe maybe VW changes their mind after.
Well, we weren't supposed to get this. I think they sent an email to somebody in Germany very angrily saying, "Send us a car."
These people are moaning.
Yeah. So there's currently 6 of them. Only 3 of them are in rotation with publications.
Well, I'm loving this car in my garage at the moment. It is a welcome addition. I usually drive SUVs, so I've got a lot of space in my garage suddenly. And my wife doesn't know when I get home because I sneak in.
You just glide in. Just hover
Pretty much,
into the garage.
But it's a fantastic drive, and I there's a part of me that really, really, really hopes that VW will consider maybe bringing in a small batch of them, just like the Mini SE.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's only a small amount of them, so if you're one of the lucky ones,
do this. All right, so let's do this. We usually ask our expert journalists to give us a score out of 10 for the car, but you can't really compare this car to an ICE vehicle. So this is going to be an unfair out of 10 if we went against ICE vehicles. So let's do this. And we're putting Lawrence on the spot here because he's not being prepped for this question. So while you think about the score out of 10 for this car, think about it in relation to the I-Pace, the Mini SE. What else have you driven?
the i3 BMW.
The i3. Okay, so let's put those cars against each other and give us a score out of 10 across all of them. So let's start with the VW e-Golf. What would you give this car out of 10?
It would get a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give it 8. I'm going to take 2 points away because I can't have one. So it's going to get 8 out of 10.
Okay, it gets out of 10.
i3, it's a solid 6. I-Pace, it's a 9. And what was the other one?
SE, I-Pace.
The Mini SE gets an 8.
Okay.
Because it's just a proper little rocket that you
that
can,
is. That's the only one I haven't
terrorize
driven,
the neighborhood.
Hopefully BMW, lets me drive it at some point.
Hey, I've got connections. I can hook you up. Yeah.
Okay.
You just gave this car a higher rating than the car of the year from 2 years ago, which is it says a lot.
And it's basically because it speaks to me in the accessibility.
Okay.
I can connect with this vehicle. The I-Pace is just so far out there. I can't have an emotional connection with the car. I know that sounds weird, but you do. You walk up to a car and this is my car.
Yeah,
I can live with this. This is the I-Pace.
I could live with this car if I was into sedans or hatchbacks. I could.
The I-Pace to me was just it. You understand from an engineering point of view that is a brilliant piece of engineering, but it's soulless. I can't connect with the vehicle. It's brilliant. It deserves the score that it got.
I don't think it's soulless.
Yeah. Well,
to each his own.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. That's our very own Lawrence Minnie, and joining us to speak about the VW e-Golf. And until next time, let's take another break.
Yeah.
All right, and we're back. That was Lawrence Minnie, our no relation to me, except for working for the biggest marketplace in South Africa. What did you think?
10 out of 10. Well, technically 8 out of 10. It says a lot. And maybe the question of to retrofit or not to retrofit has been answered in that. But once again, you're going to lose some benefits of a bespoke. So I think they both have their place, to be honest.
They both have their place. And I like the way you put it. Maybe the retrofit bit is more accessible. But no, to get the motoring public used to EVs, by making them feel like not much has changed.
Yeah. At least at the beginning.
Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in favor of driving a retrofit.
Yeah.
I want the thing designed. I want
the
full hog, the full one. Yes, exactly. All right, so it's that time where we take questions, all things car buying or selling. And Wandie, what have you got from Ask AutoTrader today?
Being the EV episode, the first question comes from Tabiso, who's asked, how do EVs work? So essentially, Tabiso is basically they're thinking about an i3, a BMW i3, and they wanted to know if you take the transmission and put it in neutral, but then step on the accelerator, would it emit a sound? Like a gusheshe? Or anything. An ICE vehicle, essentially.
Why?
Yeah.
Tabiso, would you want to do that? I don't. I'm going to answer the question, but why would you want to do that? Would it emit a sound? The whole point with EVs is to get rid of the noise pollution, in my opinion. So no. kusheshe, as Wandile eloquently put it. You can't put an electric car in neutral. There is no neutral. There's no gears. There's except for the Taycan, that's got. But you can't put the car in neutral, and it's not like a traditional car with gears. And there's forward, there's backwards, and there's on, and there's off. So if you don't select the drive mode, nothing at all will happen.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a sidestep. So I don't know if you know this, but
Don't go there.
I'm sorry, I have to. There's going to be a racing series that's electric, which has essentially rally cars, which I think have kind of solved that fun factor.
What's fun about noise?
I mean, there's no noise, but you can spin the tires, which is
spinning. Oh, that's fine. You can turn. I think you can turn it off in this e-Golf.
Okay, well there it is.
But I would caution you: do not turn off traction control in an electric vehicle.
Yeah, you're gonna go through the wall.
You will lose it quickly. You will lose the car quickly because it is that powerful.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the next question?
Okay, so the next question comes from Benson, who essentially asked, how many electric vehicles are currently in South Africa?
Well, that's a good question, Wendy, and not a good question as in, we don't have the answer, because we do, because while we don't have any sales figures of these cars yet, right? Yeah, there are 5 electric vehicles in South Africa. Technically 4. First one is the Nissan Leaf, which is outgoing. It's been discontinued, and then we have the BMW i3, the Jaguar I-Pace, and the Mini SE, as well as the Porsche Taycan. Okay. So those are the current electric vehicles available in the South African market, and I'm sure that list is set to grow in the future. But besides electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, there's electrified options in the market in hybrid vehicles as well. And such as the BMW i3 REX, the Infiniti Q50S hybrid, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, the BMW 330e, and then some Volvo hybrid options as well.
Okay, moving on to the last question, coming from Shobadian, I think. Please don't kill me if I've pronounced that incorrectly.
Shabodin.
Oh, well, there it is. And he or she is essentially asking, I need advice on a Honda Insight hybrid. So basically, are there any owners out there who've spoken about it? Is it risky to buy a 5-year-old model? What are the details?
Well, I think it's safe to say that, the Honda Insight, it wasn't a fast seller in South Africa. And so we don't have any real usable data. But doing a little bit of Googling, there's no particular weakness that seems to exist with this vehicle. But with any electric vehicle, specifically hybrids, the battery is the deteriorable, is that even a word, is the part of the car that is going to lose its life, like your phone.
Okay. Yeah.
The battery is the thing that goes. So that's the thing you've got to get checked out before buying an electric vehicle or before buying even a hybrid.
Okay.
Just because you're buying a hybrid doesn't mean that the battery is going to last forever.
Yeah.
Have the battery checked out. There's some tests that I think they can do. So, but it's important to note that in the US market, the Toyota Prius, which is a hybrid, the lunchbox, has a battery warranty of 10 years or 240,000 kilometers.
That's really long. I mean, I've never had a car for that long, so hey.
So
quite durable.
It's I think it's going to get better and better and better.
Of course, can only imagine.
But that's all we have time for Wandile Sishi. So that's been epic. And as usual, my name is George Mienie, obviously joined by Wandile Sishi, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.